Welcome back to another episode. This is Layla, and today we are talking about how to get paid to exist in the age of Aquarius. And I'm going to keep it very simple, very practical. I'm not going to use too many spiritual words because I really want to keep this very simple and easy to understand. So, since social media appeared, actually, so it's been a while, right? But especially since the beginning of the age of Aquarius, it is now possible to wake up one morning and decide that you want to create something online. You then create it, and then you start selling it automatically, without having to spend countless hours working. Because working is part of the programming, the fear-based program of the fear matrix. So now you're going to be like, okay, but why isn't there more people doing that? If it's that easy, if we could all get paid to exist, right? The reason why there are still a very small amount of people doing that is because the masses, so the majority of people, like 90, I'm going to say 90% of the population of society is operating from old beliefs, from outdated beliefs. And the thing is, the only way to break out of the 9 to 5 and the rat race, or the corporate, I don't know how to call it, the corporate jungle, is to actually reprogram your subconscious mind. But while you're reprogramming your subconscious mind, you're also going to be confronted with your biggest fears. And this is where most people back down. They don't know what's really happening, or they just think, oh, well, if all these negative things are happening, then it means that it's not meant for me. And everybody was right. I'm going to go back to my 9 to 5. That's going to suck all the energy out of me and my soul and my dreams. And, you know what? Maybe my family was right. Maybe the neighbors were right. I'm a loser. I'm a failure. And of course, I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm just explaining that whatever is happening into someone's reality is created by them. On a subconscious level, not on a conscious level. It's subconscious. So there are many different ways to go about this. Of course, when you follow the protocol to manifest anything, especially with dark matter, dark energy, it's going to happen really fast. But at the same time, you might, I say might because some people don't have trauma or very little trauma. But if you have a lot of trauma, or especially if you come from a lower income neighborhood, then the triggers might get intense. And I know this, by the way, because I've been through it. I grew up in a low income housing thing, type of, I think you guys called it the projects in the US. So I had a lot of trauma to overcome, because it wasn't just mine. It was like my entire lineage, my parents' trauma, like everybody. I was like, great, But the reward, like once you're out of there, like once you know how to regulate your nervous system and you know how to get grounded into your body prior to doing all these manifestation techniques, like knowing how to rest and relax and get out of survival mode, because that's the key here. You don't want to, actually you cannot create if you're in survival mode, because you're probably thinking about surviving. like paycheck to paycheck, right? But think about it for a second. Anybody, like, especially if you have a phone and you have Wi-Fi, like anyone who listens to this podcast episode, and of course, I know a lot of you guys already have companies and all, you know, you guys are already established. But for the people who are not, anyone can wake up tomorrow morning. Think about it. Anyone can wake up tomorrow morning and create a course or whatever online offer or service for 10 grand. And they can start selling it tomorrow morning. Are they going to have sales tomorrow morning? Maybe yes, maybe no. Like, you don't know, because that's, you know, when you have a business, like, it's all your days are different, you know. But the thing is, you also have to be consistent in your vision and in your energy. So if one day you're like, oh yeah, I believe, you know, I can get paid to exist. And then the next day you're like, I don't think so. Like, who am I to, you know, why would it happen to me, you know? And then you're inconsistent with your frequency and your energy, then the results are going to be inconsistent, of course, you know? But a lot of people are still stuck in this illusion of like, we're in a bad economy. And like, even the ads, when you listen, when you're aware, you know, when you're too aware and you start listening to even the big content creators or the ads recently, everybody is like, in this economy, like, they're programming people, because the more you're going to say over and over, the economy is bad, blah, 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 people are going to stay stuck in survival mode, and they're not going to expand. They're not going to act different. They're not going to take different decisions. They're going to stay in the victim mentality, and yeah, they're going to stay a slave. That's what it is. It's slave programming. And I know it's challenging when you're in a position where you're surrounded by slaves, because that was also something that I've been through. You're surrounded by slaves, and they can feel it. Even if you move in silence and you don't tell people, oh yeah, I'm gonna, you know, start selling these high ticket courses or whatever, they are going to feel it in your energy that you're rising, you're expanding. And it's going to trigger their demons. It's going to trigger their lower entities. And so the best thing to do, of course, is to transmute anything that's coming at you during that process. And you can just decide that you want to transmute and alchemize something. It's not this like big woohoo ritual. Like, you can just decide. It's called alchemy of the mind. And when you alchemize it, you can create a new timeline very quickly, where you're not struggling anymore, or, you know, you get paid to exist or whatever. A lot of people, by the way, are slave to their business, you know, because a lot of times we think, oh, this person has a business, so they're free, you know, they're whatever, self-sufficient, independent, blah, blah. They're not a slave. Well, it depends. Some people are slaves to their business, especially if they have like this people-pleasing tendency. They might have very little boundaries with their clients. A lot of times I see a lot of spiritual practitioners, right? Tarot readers, psychic mediums, sell their services for peanuts. I see it all the time on TikTok, and I'm like, I'm saying this out of love. I'm literally looking at women that are living in, I don't know, a hotel. It doesn't look like a house. It's like they're living in some, maybe, you know, maybe it's in the projects, who knows. They're not living their divine truth. They're not in their divine living. They're not in luxury. And people are like, oh, well, maybe she wants that. Who wants to live in a motel in the ghetto? Like, please, okay? Let's just, that's the Sagittarius rising in me. That's like, bitch, please, okay? Like, no one, come on, all right? No one wants that. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, this woman has sacred gifts. She's able to connect with source and, give these amazing messages and do amazing work for the collective, which is, by the way, already free. Like, when you're posting on social media, like on TikTok or Instagram, even YouTube, this is how you're serving the collective for free. So that's why when people are charging like $30 for reading, I'm like, you've already, and I get the whole thing about making it accessible and blah, 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 and helping the collective, but like, you posting is already helping the collective. When you sell products that are low ticket offers, you basically drown yourself in a lower frequency because you might have to live with someone, you might be codependent financially, you might live in the ghetto, there might be a lot of distractions, a lot of demons in there, a lot of people, that are unconscious, that are violent, and these are, by the way, based on statistics. I'm not just making this thing up, right? Anyway, anybody who has actually grew up in the ghetto, knows what's up. No one wants to be there, especially with children. Are you kidding me? But at the same time, the only way to get paid to exist and to be able to receive those higher compensation, it starts with self-worth. But once again, if you have a lot of trauma and it's not transmuted, it's not alchemized, you're not regulated, your nervous system is not regulated, then of course, accepting huge payments are not, it's going to feel chaotic. It's not going to feel good. Money wants to make sure that you're a safe container for it. So you have to be grounded. You have to be like a tree that's rooted in the earth. And this is how we're building heaven on earth, because if we are still slaves to our emotions and to our traumatized ego, we basically live in hell on earth. It's a frequency. It's hell on earth. If you transcend your ego and you start to let go on not the things that you want, but how things get to you and when they get to you, when you surrender to that, because that's like going to the restaurant, and because of course when you go to a restaurant, you're going to pick and choose what you want to eat, right? You're not going to ask the person next to you, or you're just going to, how religious people go, oh, let go and let God, but that's just going into a restaurant and sit there and be like, you know what, let me just let God order for me. And you just sit there in silence. The waitress is going to be like, what is wrong with that person? So of course you want to pick and choose what you want to eat, what you feel like eating, what's going to be the most pleasurable for you at this moment. And then you're going to let go on the how and the when, because that would be a little creepy to, ask all these questions to the waitress and be like, when is it going to be there? Sir or ma'am, it's going to be there when it's ready. Chill, take a little drinky and just, talk and do something but that's the thing with manifestation. It's the same thing. Once you create this online service or online product or whatever, right? And you automate everything, right? You want to make sure that everything is automatic. You have a funnel. All your social media posts are automated. So, and then at least you just have to post on TikTok, which is fine because that's the only one you can't automate. Actually, you can automate it, but it's more complicated. So once you've done that, you have to chill. You do. It's like you've just ordered something. Like, what are you going to do? Like, freak out in the restaurant and start running around and be like, what is it going to be there? How? Can you imagine? Be like, how are you going to guys make my apple pie? Like, they're going to, like, kick you out. And be like, that person is actually insane. But that's the same thing with manifestation. Like, you just freaking ordered it. Like, and that's where you have to hold the frequency of already having it, of course. And it's a practice, you know. Sometimes we might get back into our old habits or old self. And then we have to bring ourselves back into the present moment and be like, no, that was the old story. That was the old me. Like, the old me used to do that. And this is why we used to get stuck into this karmic loop of, I don't know, having this 9-to-5 job that we don't like, you know. That's a karmic loop, you know. Wasting all my youth and energy on building someone else's dream so I can pay for a house that I'm not even in, or an apartment that I'm not even in all day, where I'm leaving my pets alone all day, where, you know, and then I have to drop my kids to some strangers that's going to raise them for like 8 hours a day, and then I get stuck in traffic. Like, how does that even make sense? And I get it. A lot of people are like, well, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. Yeah, of course. Like, if you say that, you're right. You do not have a choice, right? But instead, if you start asking yourself, how can I make this happen for me? Because like I said, I'm going to, you know, end with the beginning. Anyone can wake up tomorrow morning and create something to get out of whatever situation that they're in. And of course, I gave the example of money and like a 9-to-5, creating a digital product, because the age of Aquarius is the digital revolution, right? Because Aquarius, air, technology, it's all connected. But this can be applied to anything. And the hard part of it is to stay focused while doing it, because there's going to be, you know, once again, there might be distractions, but you have to always remind yourself, I just placed my order at the restaurant. Now let me focus on something else. let me focus on myself. Let me focus on staying in that high frequency of not being distracted. And of course, this practice gets easier and easier the more we do it. But we have a nervous system. We have to regulate our nervous system. It's like quite impossible to never have any stress. We can lower it to like a very, 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 very low level. But it's nearly impossible unless you like live alone in the forest. Then yes, you might. I mean, I'm sure there's other type of stressors, like if you come across like a wild animal or something, you might be like, whoa. And once again, your nervous system is in fight mode or flight, whatever, depending on what kind of animal it is. And so regulating our nervous system is probably one of the most powerful practice we can have, especially if we are business owners, or just in general, if we're parents. In life, we just need those skills, basically. So that's it for today's episode. Let me know if you have any comments, suggestions, and I'll see you tomorrow.